Welcome to the AI Queens podcast, the show where women entrepreneurs learn to ditch the overwhelm, embrace AI, and build businesses fit for royalty. I'm Erika Stanley, your host and tech expert, here to deliver tools, tips, and actionable strategies to help you scale smarter. Let's get to it.
Welcome to the AI Queens podcast. Between seasons, I'm sharing powerful conversations that help women entrepreneurs ditch the overwhelm, embrace AI, and build businesses fit for royalty. Today's replay is from one of my most requested episodes, episode 16, where I broke down 10 ways to use AI to fact check your social media feed. With everything happening in the world right now, this episode feels more relevant than ever. But here's the thing. We've been in a particularly heavy news cycle lately, and the world just feels heavy. Social media feels like a complete shit show, and I know it's hard to know what's true and what's not. So while I'm replaying this episode because these AI fact checking tools are incredibly powerful and really useful right now, I also want to give you permission to do what I've been doing lately, and that's just unplug. So maybe, like me, you don't want to be on social media right now. And in that case, keep this information in your back pocket for when you're ready. Sometimes the best fact checking strategy is simply stepping away from the feed entirely. But when you are ready to re engage, this episode is about taking back control of the information you consume and using AI as your personal bullshit detector. You'll hear me walk through some real examples, fact-checking viral memes with ChatGPT, using Claude to detect bias and manipulation, and using Perplexity to track manufactured controversies. Because Queens, we deserve better than being manipulated by the algorithm. And now, here's the episode.
This past week, I've been deep in doom scroll. Between the protests in LA, the Musk and Trump breakup, or whatever bizarre thing that was, and the nonstop flood of viral content, I have felt a familiar kind of overwhelm. The little bit of anxiety that comes when you want to stay informed. Everything feels just heavy and weaponized, and I've been feeling a little spun out, right? There's obviously a serious misalignment here because most of us are just trying to make sense of the world, right? We used to be able to rely on the news to show us what's going on, what's real, what's the truth. But now there's so much information being spread around that it's tough sometimes to know what's true and what's not. Meanwhile, platforms that we're relying on, the ones that constantly feed us the content that we continually consume, they're built, owned, and operated by a handful of tech billionaires who are treating truth like it's optional. For example, Musk and Trump are both fighting and spreading rumors about each other on social media platforms that they each own. Zuckerberg killed off Meta's fact checking teams, and most of the tech oligarchy were seated at the right hand of the man himself on Inauguration Day, totally messing with our heads and leaving us all wondering what even is conflict of interest anymore. They're all just out there making billions, acting like they have zero responsibility for the digital hellscape they have helped create. But here's the twist for you today. In today's episode, we're going to use AI to hold the algorithm and its architects accountable. We're turning their own tech on them and on the people who parrot their talking points without a second thought. So, without further ado, here are 10 ways to use AI to fact check the hell out of your feed and to make sure that the memes that you're sharing or the news story that you're getting enraged over are in fact true. Starting with number one, this is my favorite and I use it all the time. So we're going to spend the most time here. Screenshot the meme and drop it into ChatGPT. So we've all seen those viral tweet carousels, the ones where people take a screenshot of a tweet or a thread, they paste it onto a background and then queue up a bunch of them in a row to get you rage swiping. Next time you see one that really pisses you off or that seems questionably reliable, screenshot it. Upload the image into ChatGPT 4.0 and ask, fact check this. What's true? What's misleading? And where can I read more? I'm going to do two examples in today's episode of ones that I saw recently just to show you how powerful this is. So, example number one, this comes from Instagram from a women's content account. It's a screenshot of a journalist recounting what he heard in the press room. For each of these examples, these are screenshots, so they're a little visual. I'm going to read them to you, but you can see all of them on my Substack post for this specific episode at aiqueensociety.com. So it's a screenshot and it says, Reporter, do you plan to send troops to Los Angeles? Trump, well, we're going to have troops everywhere. So that got me thinking, did the president really say that? Did it sound as ominous as this reporter is making it seem? Or am I missing context here? For this one, I started with Perplexity, which is my go to for most fact checking, and it's kind of become my replacement for Google. I put this into Perplexity and asked, is this a real quote from the president? What's the bigger context here? And the response I got was amazing. It gave me 14 different sources, ranging from the Washington Post to PBS to Reuters, ABC News, just a whole bunch of different places. I've got both right and left sources that it's looking for. Perplexity broke everything down for me and gave me sources for everything. It actually even put it into a table. But then at the very end, it's got in summary. And this one's really important. So the summary. Yes, this quote is real. President Trump made these remarks in June 2025 amid controversy over his decision to deploy military forces to Los Angeles in response to the protests. He indicated that such deployments could happen everywhere if unrest continues in other cities, framing it as a necessary step to maintain order and enforce immigration laws. In this case, this meme, which looks really cute and it's surrounded by pink, so it takes a little bit of the edge off. But yes, this meme is correct. And I can click on any of these sources on both right and left, and it quotes the exact quote from the president. So that's our first example. The second example, this one comes from right here in my home state of Florida. This is from our representative Anna Paulina Luna. She posted on Twitter that she is speaking to House Speaker Johnson about banning the feminist group Code Pink from the Capitol for the president's propaganda show. I mean, parade, the president's parade this weekend. She goes on to say, quote, that given that they are foreign funded and directly tied to China, they have no right to interfere with American politics and have no place at the US Capitol, unquote. I mean, that sounds like BS to me, but if it was true, would they even be allowed to do that, to ban an organization from a public parade from the entire Capitol? I was curious. So I decided to check both ChatGPT and Perplexity on this one. And I asked, hey, I need you to look into the validity of this claim. Is this true about Code Pink? And if so, would the Speaker of the House have the authority to ban them from attending a parade in Washington, D.C.? Now, in ChatGPT, I used the 4.0 model and I made sure that the search the web option was turned on. And here's what I found. ChatGPT started by giving me a couple of resources saying that there's no public record indicating that Code Pink has been banned. They are planning a protest according to their website, and that Code Pink has a history of engaging in disruptive protests, including congressional hearings. These have led to legal consequences, but that no, even the president does not possess the unilateral power to prohibit specific organizations from attending public parades or demonstrations. That seemed all right, but I feel like I was missing the China connection. So I came over to Perplexity and it also looked into, and I've got resources from Senator Jim Banks from the Senate Judiciary. It's .gov resources. There's 21 sources here. An LGBTQ news source, Yahoo, US News and World Report. So there's a ton of stuff in here, which is really cool because it gives the answer more depth, right? And so here I'm finding, according to Perplexity, and I'm not going to read through all of this with you, although I guess I could link to it in the show notes because Perplexity allows you to share a whole thread and make it public. So maybe I'll do that. But again, I can go all the way down to the bottom. And the in summary says the claim about Code Pink's foreign ties is partially supported by indirect evidence, but not conclusively proven as direct Communist Party funding. The speaker cannot ban Code Pink from public parades in DC, only potentially from congressional spaces, and even that would require strong legal justification. So, what I'm doing here is I am using AI to fact check this meme that I found that seemed a little ridiculous, but might actually have something to it. But also, no, Representative Luna, you can't just say they can't come to a protest in the Capitol. Not legal, not allowed. So, thanks again, AI. In this case, there's no reason to get your knickers in a twist. They might be problematic, but Johnson can't actually ban them from the parade. Moving on to number two. This is using Claude for nuance detection. Now, we just talked about ChatGPT and Perplexity, which are great for fact checking, but I've been using Claude a lot more lately, and it seems to be better at reading between the lines, right? Like it's kind of like your high EQ friend who can pick up on subtle tone, implications, intent. You can give it a post and ask it to break down any bias, emotional manipulation, or persuasive tactics. It's really good at unpacking subtext. For this one, I found a thread post from JVN or Jonathan Van Ness of Queer Eye fame. His post says, "Weird how it's states' rights for forcing women into birth, but not states' rights for enforcing immigration laws. Hmm, let's see if there's any nuance or context that Claude can help shed some light on." Spoiler alert, of course there's nuance in this. Okay, looking at this social media post, says Claude, I can identify several analytical points. It has found some potential bias, false equivalence. It's treating two different legal constitutional issues as if they are logically the same stance on federalism. And it's got selective framing. So it's highlighting an apparent contradiction without acknowledging different constitutional principles that might apply to each issue. And then it goes down through the logical issues of false dichotomy, category error, straw man potential, right? I love Jonathan Van Ness and I love this meme. However, overall assessment that Claude is giving it, factual assessment. So, accurate terminology, forcing women into birth accurately describes the practical effects of the abortion bans, but missing context. It doesn't acknowledge the different constitutional bases for these positions 14th Amendment rights versus federal supremacy clause, immigration powers, etc. So, it's giving the real tension in how some people approach this, but it oversimplifies the constitutional distinctions. This argument works as political rhetoric, but doesn't engage with the substantive legal differences that might justify different approaches to state authority in these areas. Thank you, Claude. Although I'm a little miffed that this isn't just a pithy little meme that I can now put back up on my feed because I love what it says. I am realizing that this is a little bit of a straw man argument, and maybe I should skip this one. So thanks to Claude for helping me get to the nuance of that. All right, number three, we can reverse image search that shit. Before you get all worked up, before you reshare a dramatic image, what you can do is run it through Google Lens, Google image search. That is going to search all of the images that look similar to that one and help you nail down the origin of that image, right? So you might find, and we have seen this before, that the protest photo that's being passed off as, quote, from last night is actually from 2017. Or, and we saw this today, a photo of California's First Lady, Gavin Newsom's wife, who was shamed for shopping while LA lie in ruins, is actually from earlier this year. So it's simple. You're just going to take a screenshot, save the image, and then go to google.com and drag the image into the search bar. What that's going to do is it reverse searches the image for you and finds other places where that image exists, other news stories, and that'll include its original location. It just allows you to dig a little bit deeper and get a little more context for where that image might have come from. Speaking of image generation, number four, how to tell if an image was AI generated. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and that includes images. You can use tools like AI or not, and that's simply just aiornot.com to upload the image and get a quick verdict. You have to sign up for an account, which is kind of a pain, but once you do, you can just upload the image and it will give you an answer. Is it AI generated or likely human? Now, this tool is free to use and you get 10 per month on the free plan. Super simple. While we're talking about video or while we're talking about images, let's also talk about video. So, number 5, you can screenshot a video frame and investigate it. Now, if you see something on TikTok that gets you all fired up, you can pause that TikTok or Instagram reel, grab a frame, and run it through GPT 4.0 or that same reverse Google image search and ask, is this consistent with a real image or does it look AI generated or altered? You can kind of combine 4 and 5 here. This is a quick way to start the verification process and figure out if what you're seeing is true or if it's going to require some more digging. Moving on to just video, number 6, you can fact check an entire video with Poppy AI. I've been using an AI software called Poppy, and I'll link to it in the show notes. It's Gosh, it's amazing, and it's turned into one of my favorite AI tools lately. Poppy can watch a video, listen to the audio, read the captions, and summarize what's happening. Then you can analyze that summary using Claude or ChatGPT right within the Poppy window. So what you can do is paste in a YouTube video, TikTok, Instagram reel, any of those video formats. You can just paste that link right into Poppy, and it will transcribe and analyze the entire thing for you, both the text and what's visually going on in the video. And then since you can toggle between the different models, you can actually compare what the different models, Claude versus ChatGPT versus any of the others, you can compare what they say and then figure out and do more research or let them debate it out. Number 7, and this is just a little bit deeper, you can ask, what's the agenda here? You can use Claude for this or ChatGPT, but again, I like Claude for a little more of that nuance to analyze who gains from a post going viral. So you can take that screenshot and ask, what's the likely motivation behind this? Who benefits? Look at the affiliations, the past behavior, political leanings, and the bigger story that it might be pushing. So, as they say, follow the money. But this, you want to look into who's in the video, but also who's posting it. What is their motivation? What news organization is it coming from? Which way do they lean? There's so much nuance that you can look into if you just ask, what's the agenda here? Gosh, I even hate that I am having to question the agenda of news organizations. What world are we in, y'all? Okay, sorry. Bringing that back. Number 8. Oh, I'm fired up today. All right. Number 8, don't forget to fact check the comments section, right? So often there's a lot of misinformation hiding in there. You can copy and paste comments and ask ChatGPT, is this accurate? Does this align with any real sources? Or is this person full of shit? I love clicking the little links within the sources that it spits back out to you, both on ChatGPT and Perplexity. One thing to keep in mind, though, it is possible that the AI can misinterpret these sources. Or you can actually push back and ask it if you want it to find different, more reliable sources. So if it comes back with an answer that's a little wishy washy, don't be afraid to push back and ask more questions. Just overall, in all of this, something I want to leave you with, we're only on number 8, but that's something I want to leave you with is to stay curious. Even if something seems super reliable, even if something seems super believable, we have the tools to check and see what is the validity of this? What's the overall context? What's the background? And this actually leads me into number 9. You can track the timeline and the history with Perplexity. So, Perplexity, it will actually go back and find sources and help you map out not a literal timeline, but a timeline to explore what someone has said over time or the history of a story, right? So it's you could ask like, what has this person said about this topic over the past 5 or 10 years, and then watch how their narrative may have shifted. There's a really interesting example that I used it for just this week. There have been a ton of stories about trans athletes in the past few years, seemingly out of nowhere. And I want to highlight this this month in particular. It's Pride Month. Trans people in general, trans athletes are under attack, and it just it's ridiculous, and it feels like it's come out of nowhere. I wanted to use Perplexity to get to the bottom of this, and I asked it. Seems like there are a ton of stories about trans athletes lately. Help me with the timeline here. What's the big deal? Give me the context and the history, and why it seems like it's everywhere right now. And because I have done a bit of research on this, because it gets me very fired up, I also added, is it true that there are only 9 trans athletes in the entire NCAA of 500,000? Perplexity did some deep research into this. They have, just like ChatGPT, they have a deep research mode as well. Claude does too. I haven't used it, but I'm sure it's great. But I absolutely love Perplexity. It came back with 24 sources for me. Everything from GLAD to Fox News, genderjustice.us. It's got stuff from PBS, the actual NCAA itself, BBC. There's just a ton of information. It breaks it down going back to the 1970s to one of the earliest high profile transgender athletes, Renee Richards, who was a tennis player who petitioned and had a lawsuit. There was a landmark court decision that allowed her to compete as a woman. So that was in the going back to the 1970s, and then it breaks everything down, the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, and then the 2020s. So this issue has exploded in public discourse, high-profile cases, including Leah Thomas, who became the first openly transgendered NCAA Division One national champion. It talks about the Tokyo Olympics. It answered my question, why is this issue everywhere now? Media and political attention. This issue has become a political flashpoint, with well funded campaigns and media coverage amplifying the debate. Transgender athletes' stories, often framed as a threat to women's sports, despite evidence to the contrary. So, within that, gosh, just these 3 little sentences, it's got the different sources here that I can click on for where it got that specific information. This debate is often fueled by misinformation and fear rather than evidence of unfair advantage. And then it's got the sources specifically for that. And then my final question, are there really only 9 trans athletes in the NCAA? And the answer is yes. In December of 2024, NCAA President Charlie Baker testified that he knew of fewer than 10 transgender college student athletes among approximately 510,000. This suggests that at the collegiate level, transgender athletes are an extremely small minority. And the far right is making a really big noise about 9 people out of a half a million. And so then it breaks it down into a table with me. It gives me the big picture. This is really nice. I'm going to link to this as well because I think this is really important. And the very last sentence at the bottom, the current prominence of the issue is due to political and media dynamics, not the actual prevalence or impact of transgender athletes in sports. So, all of this goes to say that I am using AI to fact check not just things in my feed, but things that I'm seeing on the news. Ideas that seem to be fueling a ton of political divide. And AI is really just helping to give me history, broader context, and a deeper understanding of where this all might be coming from. And facts that I can use when having conversations with people, right? So it's giving me facts and resources that I can continue to look into if I want to dig deeper. For the last one, number 10, I wanted to give you a global perspective. So you can use AI to translate non English sources. Did you know that you can use ChatGPT or Claude to translate articles from non English sources and explain their tone, cultural context, and how they compare to US coverage? This one is great because it can allow you to pull from non English coverage to balance out your perspective. Both Claude and ChatGPT are great at not just word translation, but tone translation as well. So you're getting more of that read between the lines nuance that you need. There you have it, 10 ways to use AI to cut through your noisy and rage inducing feed. Some of these tools are great for text and memes like ChatGPT and Claude. Others are best for images and video like Poppy and Google Lens. And some are going to help you step back and spot the bigger picture and nuance, like Perplexity and Claude. These tools, don't forget, were created by the same guys who sat next to the president at his inauguration and the same ones that are slashing safety teams and playing nice with authoritarian regimes. There is a massive conflict of interest here, and it's on us to stay vigilant. We have to be super intentional about what we share and what we repost, and about how we verify what we see. The truth, y'all, is under pressure, but the tools, they're in our hands. If you're feeling really saucy, here's a bonus way that you can use AI to upend the tech bros. For all of you headed to a protest or a rally this weekend, you can use AI to brainstorm ideas for your signs, to research local laws on assembly, or to find the number and address for your local representative so that you can call or write and tell them how you feel about where they stand on the issues. You can even use AI to rage vent your feelings into a chat window and then turn that into a professionally composed letter or a limerick. The possibilities here are endless. All right. Before I sign off today, I just want to tell you about a couple of upcoming events. I'm hosting a live workshop next week, June 18th, inside the AI Queens Society. We're going to walk through exactly how to build your own AI powered fact checking assistant. Just kidding. We're going to walk through how to build your first AI assistant. So, this would either be a custom GPT or a Claude project or a Google Gem, but we're going to walk through that whole process together. You can join us at the AIQueensSociety.com and sign on as a paying subscriber. Also, in July, I'm going to be the guest for July's Babe Talk for Babe Crafted, which is a group of women entrepreneurs. Their CEO, Gina, is going to interview me about AI on July 17th. So mark your calendars and watch my Instagram and LinkedIn feeds for links to join. Signing off now, Queens. Until next time, stay smart, stay sharp, and keep your feed clean.
I hope this episode gave you some practical tools for navigating the digital chaos, or at least permission to step away when it all feels like too much. Just a quick update, you can now find me on Instagram at Erika the AI Queen. That's Erika with a K, the AI Queen. I am no longer at Mile End Digital, so make sure you're following the right account for all the latest AI Queens content. Until next time, take care of yourself first. Stay curious when you're ready, and remember, you have the power to control the digital information you consume.
Thanks for listening to the AI Queens podcast. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow queen who needs to hear this. Want more tips and tools? Join the AI Queens Society at AIQueensSociety.com and start ruling your business with confidence today. Until next time, stay bold, stay curious, and keep reigning with AI.